I love Spinda, and I think it's a very interesting Pokemon for two reasons. First off, you can find this many different combination of spots on its body in the wild, and second off, Spinda is very bad. And that's the reason why today I want to find out if you can beat Pokemon Emerald with just a Spinda. This challenge will have two main rules. First off, I am not able to use any items in battle outside of held items such as Oran Berries or Silk Scarfs. Second off, I cannot use any other Pokemon to battle, although I will need to catch some other Pokemon such as Zigzagoon because I need HMs to complete the game, so I will inevitably have a couple extra Pokemon on my team. To start off our adventure, we have to challenge May, who is incredibly easy in this first fight as Spinda starts with Uproar, a decently strong normal type move that can easily take care of this Torchic and allow us to move on to our first challenge, the first gym leader, Roxanne. Roxanne is a rock type gym leader sporting 2 Geodude and her ace Nosepass, and as such it's going to be a pretty rough time for our normal type Spinda. Luckily for us, however, Spinda learns the move Feint Attack at level 12, allowing us to have a real damaging move versus these rock type Pokemon. All of the dark type moves in Generation 3 are going to be special typing, so that's going to allow us to bypass all the hardens that these Geodude and these Nosepass are going to want to set up on us. On my first attempt of Roxanne, I was able to get past the 2 Geodude and make my way to Nosepass. I wasn't super confident I was able to beat her at level 12, but I wanted to see if Feint Attack would be enough to get by, but after this attempt I knew I would need to gain some more levels, so after beating up Roxanne's employees, I challenged her again at level 14 to see how we would fare this time. I got very lucky on the first Geodude, being able to avoid 2 Rock Tombs and make it to Geodude 2 unscathed. Unfortunately, this Geodude did hit its Rock Tombs, but I was still able to make it to Nosepass without using up my Oran Berry, which is a great sign for Spinda. Nosepass starts by using Harden and then uses Block, which is fantastic news, but Rock Tomb could still spell out disaster, but after a few tackles, Spinda is able to come out victorious versus our first big obstacle. Next up is the fighting type gym leader Brawly with his team of Machop, Meditite, and his ace Makuhita. 3 very scary Pokemon for the normal type Spinda. Luckily for us though, at level 16, Spinda does learn Psybeam, giving us a super effective option in this gym. To start off this fight, Brawly sends out his Machop, and if he used Karate Chop, it might have to be an instant reset as we will likely need all of our HP for the Makuhita. But Machop goes for bulk up, allowing us to make it to the Meditite, who always tries to use Focus Punch, but we can always attack to break his focus and stay untouched. I was using Tackle here, which is a big mistake as I could miss and get one shot by the Focus Punch, and I should have been using Feint Attack to prevent missing, but after a very slow battle we do end up making it to Makuhita. With Vital Throw, Makuhita could very easily one-shot us, but he goes for bulk up, allowing us to get a Psybeam and get a Confusion off. With Makuhita hitting himself in Confusion, we are able to walk away the victors without any extra leveling, and we can move on to our first big rival fight versus May. My first attempt at this fight, I go for Uproar versus the Wingull, which ended up being a giant mistake as I am now locked into Uproar versus the Combusken when I want to be using Psybeam. So for the second attempt, I use Psybeam to take out the Wingull, moving on to Combusken, who is greedy, goes for the Focus Energy, but we outspeed turn 2, allowing Psybeam to knock out, and all that's left is Lombre. I use Psybeam and accidentally use Feint Attack when I'm trying to go to Uproar, but regardless, I finish off May and approach our scariest match yet, Watson. Watson is a giant problem for Spinda for 2 reasons. First, Voltorb, Watson's lead Pokemon, has the ability Soundproof, which makes it immune to Uproar, our current strongest attack. Secondly, Magneton, a Steel-type Pokemon, currently resists all of our attacking moves we have while also being incredibly bulky and has access to Sonic Boom, which will always deal 20 damage. To help our fight versus Soundproof and the Steel-type Menace, I entered Watson's gym at level 27 with 2 new moves, Dizzy Punch and Hypnosis, as well as equipped with a Cherry Berry to help any future paralysis that is bound to happen. I try using Hypnosis versus Voltorb and Electrike, which is mostly pointless as I could just be using Dizzy Punch to speed this fight up, as Hypnosis is here to help us take down the Magneton. I try my best versus the Magneton, but I am unable to get remotely close to knocking it out, so I know I have to leave and level up some more. I return at level 32, as this one I found myself being able to one-shot Voltorb and Electrike with Dizzy Punch, which is a huge help. Making it to Magneton, I use Hypnosis to give myself some time and followed up with a Dizzy Punch Confusion, the perfect start I was looking for. I get max sleep turns and even a Confusion hit, getting Magneton super low, but trying to save Dizzy Punch PP from Manectric, I use Psybeam, allowing Magneton to survive and get a Super Potion off, making this almost guaranteed win an uphill battle once again. Because of PP issues, it's forcing me to switch moves and allowing another Super Potion onto the Magneton. Although I avoided the Sonic Boom at the end, I still get hit by a Thunder Wave, making Manectric fight dicey at best. I used my last Dizzy Punch, getting a good amount of damage onto Manectric, being forced to now use Psybeam. While paralyzed and at 13 HP it looks all but over, but for some reason Manectric goes for Quick Attack, leaving us at 1 HP, and being able to break through paralysis means we secure our 3rd gym badge. On our way to the first Archie fight, we stopped to pick up the TM for Dig. This would have been extremely helpful versus the Magneton, but it will still be a good TM for us going forward. Archie for the most part is a complete pushover. Although the Intimidate drop from Mightyena is annoying and slowing down the battle, there is no real threat, and Zubat cannot even compete with the Psybeam, leaving the only real threat to be Camerupt, which is easily handled by a timely Dizzy Punch crit. Now we can move on to a real Camerupt user, the Fire Gym Leader Flannery. For this fight, I teach Spinda Dig thinking it would be a quick sweep, and it does easily take out Numel and Slugma, but Camerupt does survive and needs another hit to take it out. Not much to worry about until we make it to Torkoal, who eats my dig like a 6-course dinner, and after a bit of healing and digging, I go down to an overheat. I decide to change up my strat and just go with the all-reliable of Silk Scarf Dizzy Punch, which is able to take care of Numel and Slugma all the same without them setting up Sunny Day for Camerupt's overheat. Dizzy Punch still misses the KO on Camerupt, who then goes for Sunny Day anyway, meaning I'm all but guaranteed to go down to a Torkoal overheat. Torkoal starts off with a body slam, which is a great sign, but then they goes for the overheat, which predictably sends me to the Shadow Realm, and I have to come back and try again. I decide to leave and EV train my attack stat with Spinda, and gain a couple levels to help out here, as it's clear I won't be able to take out Torkoal without some extreme luck. Speaking of luck, we get a Dizzy Punch Confusion followed by Camerupt hitting himself, allowing us to get to Torkoal, who then prioritizes setting up Sunny Day, allowing for 2 Dizzy Punches to take it out and us get our 4th gym badge. Our next challenge would be against the most legendary creature in the entire Pokemon universe. A fatherly figure. Norman can be a very threatening trainer with his slacking, but thanks to Dig we can manipulate Truant to avoid getting hit, which does make for a very slow battle, but it is very effective in avoiding that damage. However, we do get low, and they are going to use a Hyper Potion, which does mess up the Truant cycle, so we do get hit there. But thanks to a little bit of cleanup and one quick return, Vigoroth goes down, and it is a very easy gym. We start our journey to the 7th gym leader, Winona, but not before having a face-off with a familiar face in May. Due to our current strength, she no longer poses a challenge to us, and is just a very small stepping stone on the way to this gym. The 6th gym features Flying-type Pokemon, so we won't have to worry about any super effective moves here, and can easily use Return in this gym. Although we aren't able to one-shot all of our Pokemon, with some taking 2 return to take down, only her Steel-type Skarmory provides any resistance but still goes down with relative ease. Her ace is Altaria, who has a couple of returns with her name on it, and I have a gym badge with mine. With that badge acquired, we have one more face-off versus Team Magma's leader, Maxie, who is already underleveled compared to our Spinda, and on top of that, Mightyena uses Swagger on our Spinda, which gives us an attack boost, but because of our own tempo ability, we don't get confused, and we can use this attack boost to easily sweep and approach the double battle gym leader, Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza are special in that they are a double battle gym, starting off with Xatu and Claydol, and then in the back is our signature Pokemon of Solrock and Lunatone. As we see, 3 of these Pokemon are going to resist our strongest move in return, so let's see how we fare. With this being a double battle gym, I'm forced to bring 2 Pokemon, so Cast Form with only Sunny Day and Rain Dance will make a very short appearance, as I need a Pokemon that will not affect the battle in any way. Xatu is the Pokemon I'm the least afraid of, so I start by focusing on the Claydol and try to keep Xatu alive as I pick off the remaining Pokemon. Unfortunately, we are not even close to the damage that we need on Lunatone, so before making our way to the second attempt, I pick up the Shadow Ball TM from Mount Pyre to replace Feint Attack and give us a better attacking move versus the Psychic Gym. Shadow Ball is a physical move in this generation, so we will be able to make use of our great attack stat and break through the Calm Minds that are being set up. In this second battle, I got very lucky with a critical hit on Claydol, and having Xatu loaf around and get greedy with Calm Minds allows me to pick off the Lunatone and have a 1v1 with Solrock, which I can manage with Shadow Ball. Maxie isn't the only team leader that wants to smoke one last time, so we must face off against Team Aqua's Archie. We aren't fortunate enough to get another free Swagger attack boost from Mightyena, but this is no problem as nothing on his team can handle return, and after a few healing items, we take down Sharpedo, finishing off our conflicts with Team Magma and Team Aqua for good. As we approach the endgame, we have one less gym badge to acquire from Juan, who just like our champion sports a full water team, giving us a little warm up for that eventual champion fight. We aren't able to get one-hit KOs like we used to, but due to our level difference and the pure will of Spinda, we can keep up. After a close call with Ice Beam putting us at 5 HP, we secure our 8th gym badge and journey through Victory Road, where a long-forgotten face and Wally approaches us for a battle. Now, Wally has definitely grown up since our last fight in Marvel City, sporting more than just a Ralts, but unfortunately for him, he must face off against Spinda once more, who, with the power of friendship and return, sends us into our first attempt of the Hoenn region Elite Four. Before entering the Elite Four, I pick up a couple stronger moves in Psychic and Brick Break, hoping that it'll give us some better move options in the Elite Four and help us with some PP if needed. The first of these fights is against the Dark-type leader Sydney. This is a pretty good matchup for us, especially after we see Shiftry use a Swagger on Spinda, giving us a free attack boost just like Maxie did in the past, and now we can easily sweep up with Return and move on to our second fight versus Phoebe. The Shadow Ball TM we picked up earlier is going to have even more use now versus Phoebe's bulky Ghost-type Pokemon. We see Banette use Will-O-Wisp here, which I planned for by equipping a Rossberry, allowing us to keep our full-powered Shadow Balls for the rest of the match. Most of her team is fairly trivial and will just go down to a couple Shadow Ball. Her scariest Pokemon, Dusclops, however, does end up going for Earthquake, which is going to knock us down to 1 HP, giving us yet another single-digit HP victory as we barely scrape by and move on to the third Elite Four member, Glacia. I didn't expect this fight to give me any trouble, as none of our Pokemon are very threatening, until we see this Glalie survive and go for Icy Wind, lowering my speed and then hitting me with a huge Ice Beam, putting me in a terrible spot. I try to hang on, but Blizzard takes me out, and I have to leave and come back a bit stronger. Re-entering the Elite Four at level 70, I have another face-off versus Glacia, now stronger and faster, hoping to handle this Glalie before it handles me. However, even with the Silk Scarf, I'm unable to take out Glalie, and with the Icy Winds, I just cannot win this match, and I'm gonna have to leave and come back even stronger. Returning at level 80 this time, I know I will be able to handle Glacia and believe this will be the strength needed to carry me to a full Elite Four victory. This time I'm able to one-hit KO the Glalie, which was the biggest thorn in this match, and with no Icy Wind, Return will easily secure me this match and move on to the final Elite Four member, Drake. Drake is easily the strongest and scariest member of the Elite Four. All of his Dragon-type Pokemon are incredibly powerful, and I think this will be even harder than the eventual champion fight. I'm able to handle Shelgon, Kingdra, and Flygon relatively easily, but it all falls apart once we see Drake's ace Salamence. I attempted this fight many times at this level and could never knock out Salamence, always surviving at very low HP. I felt all I needed was one more level to beat Drake and move on to the champion, but with no rare candies left, I had to leave, train a bit more, and re-enter the Elite Four one last time. Coming back in with my newfound strength, the beginning battles of the Elite Four only became easier. Sydney didn't pose a threat back then, and definitely isn't one now. Shadow Ball is only picking up more consistent KOs versus Phoebe, so we don't have to worry about Dust Clouds either. And as we know with Glacia, we can easily take care of Glalie, sweeping past the first 3 Elite Four members and make our way to Drake so we can get our revenge. Confident in my game plan, I just have to get past Shelgon, Kingdra, and Flygon once again. Going into Salamence this time, I know to use Psychic first to get him to an HP stat that doesn't proc his Citrus Berry, and then I can use Return to get the knockout and move on to the champion. However, after all my previous attempts for Drake, I never got a crit, and this time around, after more training, we crit the Psychic, and just like that, Drake is down. Pretty anticlimactic fight for me, but we had the stats and strats to win. Now for the champion, Wallace. Wallace leads off with Wailord, which I expected to set up Rain Dance to power up future water moves and enable Swift Swim on Ludicolo. However, he uses a low HP Water Spout, only doing 9 damage, which is probably the best case scenario, as I will now outspeed Ludicolo and all water moves will be weaker in comparison. Return is either knocking out in one shot or forcing healing, so we easily make it to Gyarados. For this Gyarados, I taught Spinda Shockwave just to make sure we take care of it in one shot, and the only remaining Pokemon is Milotic. Milotic goes for Toxic, which is not scary at our current HP, and even with the Citrus Berry healing, Milotic is still in Return knockout range, and with one more attack, that seals off the Elite Four and puts our Spinda in the Hall of Fame record book. And that is the story of how I learned that you can beat Pokemon Emerald with just a Spinda. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe for some more Pokemon Challenge videos. I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.